Hello, welcome to Gagru.net. My name is Wally Sarkisian. We have a very interesting person today, and he is. I never knew he was doctor. Apparently, he's a heart surgeon, and so
Yes.
Vahe Gasparyan, Doctor Vahe Gasparyan, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, and thank you for having me.
Let me run a little video about you. So most people probably don't know. I didn't know. Nobody knew that you were a doctor. So here is the video. Let's watch it and then we'll come back.
Ազգային-Ժողովրդավարական Բևեռի խորհրդի անդամ Վահե Գասպարյան, մասնագիտությամբ սրտային վիրաբույժ, ծնվել է 1971 թվականին Երևանում։ 1987 թվականին ոսկե մեդալով է ավարտել Երևանի Չեխովի անվան թիվ 55 միջնակարգ դպրոցը, իսկ 1993-ին գերազանցությամբ ավարտել Երևանի պետական բժշկական համալսարանը։ 2 տարի անց ստացել է սիրտանոթային վիրաբույժի որակավորում։ Այդ նույն տարում 1995 թվականին սրտային վիրաբուժության հատուկ դասընթացների է մասնակցել Միացյալ Նահանգներում, 1998-ին Ֆրանսիայում, Փարիզի հայտնի բժշկական կենտրոններում։ 2000 թվականին արդեն ստացել է բժշկական գիտությունների թեկնածուի գիտական աստիճան։ 2002-ից 2003 թվականներին աշխատել է Սինգապուրի ազգային համալսարանական հիվանդանոցի սիրտանոթային և կրծքային վիրաբուժության բաժանմունքում, ապա վերադարձել և իր փորձն ու գիտելիքները ներդրել է հայրենիքում։ Սկզբում բաժանմունքի վարիչ է աշխատել Էրեբունու, ապա Զեյթունի սիրտանոթային բժշկական կենտրոնում։ 2010-ից 2020 թվականներին աշխատել է Էրեբունի բժշկական կենտրոնում որպես սիրտանոթային վիրաբուժության բաժանմունքի վարիչ։ 2018 թվականին անդամագրվել է Սասնա Ծռեր համահայկական շարժմանը, 2020 թվականին Ազգային-Ժողովրդավարական Բևեռ շարժմանը։ 1 տարի անց ընտրվել է BEVER-ի խորհրդի անդամ։ 2021 թվականի արտահերթ խորհրդարանական ընտրությունների ժամանակ առաջադրվել է որպես վարչապետի թեկնածու Ազգային-Ժողովրդավարական Բևեռ կուսակցության անունից։
So that's good for now. We'll show the rest at the end of the show. So tell us about why would a heart surgeon doctor get involved in politics?
Yeah, that's what a tough decision. And I was actually forced to make this decision after my military service in Sisian military hospital during the 44 days war. I served there as a military doctor, and I've seen a lot of tough cases of wounded guys. I heard a lot of stories about the cases of treason, about the so-called Russian ally treating Armenian army, hanging up Armenian military and leading Armenia to the deceiving in the war. So that's what a tough decision for me, but I decided to temporarily leave my specialty because I realized that it cannot continue anymore this way, because this is the question to be or not to be for my country. So either we are changing the whole system and making crucial, necessary and systematic changes in the political life of Armenia, or we will have no Armenia anymore. And I just decided to bring my knowledge and experience because I'm not a politician, I'm a doctor, but I decided to help those committed guys who are in politics for more than 2 decades to succeed in their fight and strive for the real sovereignty of Armenia. And I dream the very day of our victory when I will be able to come back to my specialty, which I'm missing every single minute. So let's see, hopefully it will come soon.
So right now you don't practice?
I don't practice now, no.
So even if somebody called you, said, "Hey, we need you," you don't go.
If someone is calling me, I'm giving my advices and sending them, referring them to the medical centers. But as I said, I dream about the very next day of our victory, when I will be able to come back to my job, which is my beloved one, you know.
Everybody.
I was born to be a heart surgeon, and that's the dream of my whole life, and I'm missing my specialty every day. But this was the tough decision, but necessary and right decision.
But this is incredible. There are people like you in Armenia with all this talent. Yet Armenian people don't appreciate this. This is the problem. They appreciate some idiot like Pashinyan, has no background in anything.
I agree with you. I agree with you that Pashinyan is an idiot, but he's not a simple idiot. He's the henchman, puppet of the Kremlin. You know, this is not like Pashinyan is not understanding what he's doing. He's understanding very well. And everything he is doing intentionally, because he is the henchman of the Kremlin, slave of the Kremlin, just obeying their commands and their orders. So he's a traitor. It's far worse than just being a simple idiot.
But he probably doesn't mind people calling him your traitor, because he said, even calling him Turk, he says, that's fine with me, you know, if you call me Turk.
Yeah, that's fine. He has no problem with calling him a traitor or Turkish man. So the single thing that he is worried about is his chair of prime minister, and this is the red line of him as a person. He is ready for every concession which is needed to keep his chair of the prime minister. Concession to Russians, to Turkish, to Azeris, to everyone.
Yeah, he's
just to keep his chair of the prime minister.
He's a tiger at home and pussycat outside.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, let me just grill you a little bit about your organization. Now, you guys want to get rid of Russia. Now, what happens if tomorrow Russia says, okay, you guys don't want me, he takes military, he takes people from Artsakh, what are you guys going to do?
Okay, that's the false narrative. That's the false narrative that we are against Russia. First of all, I'd like to say that we are not against Russia, but we are against imperialistic policy of the Russia, of the Kremlin. That's the big difference. And the second is that we are not pushing Russia away from the region. All we say is Russia will be forced to leave the region because it's weakening and collapsing empire. So we have to think about the time will come when Russia will not be here in the South Caucasus anymore. And if we don't want Turks to come to the region, they have already come after 44 days war. But Russia, being the collapsing empire and handing over Armenia to Turkey by means of Pashinyan, preventing entering of the Western powers to the South Caucasus. And that's what we are seeing now. That's what is happening the very these days in the South Caucasus. So what we are saying is that we need to take care of our Armenia after the Russia will leave the region. And the only way for Armenia to escape the catastrophic events when the Turks will come is to change the military and foreign policy vector towards the West, towards the US as a leader of the civilized world, and we are striving for securing the status of major non-NATO ally of the United States. You know this status. We are striving for leaving the Russian-oriented structures like CIS, CSTO, and Eurasian Organization, and securing the status of the major non-NATO ally. We need to clearly understand that Armenia has never been and is not a sovereign country. Yes, formally it's considered an independent state, but it's an occupied state because first, we have a Russian military based in Armenia, military base. And second, all the governments in Armenia of its modern post-Soviet history were the henchmen and puppets of the Kremlin. So they did not serve to the national interests of Armenia and its people. They served to the Kremlin interests. So they are collaborative governments. Just like collaborative government in Romania during the Cold War, Romania of Ceausescu or Poland of Jaruzelski, etc. Formally, they also considered an independent states, being the member of United Nations, having the flag and anthem, but in reality, in fact, they were under the hybrid occupation of the Kremlin. The same story is with Armenia. So our fight is the national liberation of Armenia. And this is the principal difference of the National Democratic Alliance and the other political parties and movements of Armenia. This is the principal difference between our movement and all other political movements and parties in Armenia, which mainly serves to the Kremlin or to Pashinyan.
How are you going to get rid of Pashinyan? Without getting rid of Pashinyan, these things does not happen.
That's right, and that's why we say that all we need is to get rid of Pashinyan as soon as possible.
But how?
This will be a peaceful revolt of Armenian people. The method of peaceful revolt and civil disobedience. So this will be peaceful but disobedience, okay? And the same way as Pashinyan came to the power from the street, organizing revolt of Armenian people, the same way we are going to get rid of him.
But Pashinyan had a product. You know, when you're in business, when you go to your customer, you cannot just tell your customer, hey, that competitor is bad, I am good, give me. Pashinyan, when there one product, yes, in fact, I asked, the reason I know how idiot Pashinyan is, because when he came to Los Angeles, we gave them this royal treatment. Everybody thought he was the king of Armenia. So there was news conference, and I asked him stuff. You know, that's why I understood this guy is an idiot. Because every time I asked him a question, he would dance around the question. He never answered. He just dance, and he goes blame Kocharyan and Sarkisian. So he's a pretty shrewd con artist. He knows how these things he does. And I just want, like, he had one product. I asked him this question. Kyle Armergy Surgeon. That's it. No Armenian, nobody in Armenia said, wait a minute, let's assume Sarkisian, Kocharyan, they are thugs, whatever. But how about you? What have you to offer me? Like now, I'm talking to a doctor. But what is it, Pashinyan? Nobody said, hey, Pashinyan, okay, we now understand those people are bad. How about you? What are you going to bring? But nobody asked.
No, he gave a lot of promises during the
Yeah.
so-called Velvet Revolution. The promises to the people, promising will fight for the corruption, against corruption. He promised systematic changes, etc., etc. But he actually he lied to the people. He gave all those promises just to come to power. And now the Armenian people realize that because they.
Do you think
believe-
Armenian people realize that? Do you
Yes,
believe that?
His if you look at the questionnaires, his rating is very low, about 16 to 17%. Okay, so the credibility of Pashinyan is very low now. So many things happened during this 5 years of him being prime minister of the country, and we saw no fight against corruption, no systematic fight against anything that he promised, and we saw 44 days war. We saw betrayal of the government during this war. He refused any offer from the Western powers, military offer, political offer. He served only to Putin, leading the country to the loss.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that. But Armenian people are disappointed and embarrassed. The main fear they have now not to be disappointed again, because they said we believed this one. What is the guarantee that the next one will be?
That's
not the
exactly
same?
what it is. You're absolutely
Yeah, that's
right.
that's why what we say is we need to make radical changes if we want to change the system, going from the criminal oligarchic colonization system to the democratic one. And the only way to do it is to come through the transitional period of about 2 years. So we have a very concrete plan of the transitional period, which is transitional justice, lustration, adopting of the new constitution and the new elections law, and only after that proceeding with the new transparent free elections and forming a national government. So this is the program that transitional national government will have to implement. Okay, so that's why we say that we need to do it. We had to do it back in 1991 after the Soviet Union collapse, to clean the political field of Armenia of the henchmen and puppets and the agents of the Kremlin, just the way that the Baltic states did in 91. That's why they are really sovereign countries now. They are member of EU and NATO. But because we did not did this that time, the hybrid occupation took place. And Levon Ter-Petrosyan, being the first president of Armenia, he was the agent of the Kremlin. He was the KGB agent. So he proceeded with building this criminal system, criminal oligarchic, Kremlin-oriented system. And that's the main problem Armenia had and has the very days now, okay?
Now, why do I believe the problem more than Russia is those people? This is the problem, Armenia. this guy is a Turkish man. Look at that. Anybody could look at those pictures. Look at the smile. Look at they're welcoming this guy. You know, I mean, it's just like, this is what the problem is. You know, maybe Russia is the problem, but this is what's going on in that part of the world. Look at the Pashinyan. He now travels with all his families, enjoying life. He doesn't care.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. Don't consider Turkey without Russia, and don't consider Russia without Turkey.
Yeah.
In South Caucasus, we have a story of 100 years Russian-Turkish alliance. And you Armenians in California need to understand that. Russia never came to South Caucasus to save Armenians. This is a bullshit. Russia came to South Caucasus to colonize Armenia and to serve its imperialistic interests in the region. So when you talk about Armenia, you need to remember the history. Don't you remember the history of Russian-Turkish joint aggression against independent Armenia back in 1920? Don't you remember the Moscow Treaty between Russia and Turkey? They shared Armenian lands between each other. Okay? And they carefully kept this status for more than 100 years.
Yeah, but that was you Armenians in Yerevan decided you want to be Bolshevik.
No, we didn't decide to. No.
Well, how did it happen?
It happened as a result of Armenia being colonized and occupied by Russia. It was not our decision to become a Bolshevik state, because that time was a military aggression of Russian Red Army against Armenia back in 1920. And Armenian people is the only people on the post-Soviet region that proceeded with the revolt against Bolshevik on February 18, 1921, led by Simon Vratsyan. Okay? So this was not our decision to become a Bolshevik state. They occupied our state. Russian military occupation occurred back in 1920.
Okay.
And it continues till now. So what's happening now, you are right, Pashinyan is smiling to Erdogan because Putin told him, you need to be his slave now because I am weakening. I'm not able to keep my influence in the region like it was earlier.
So
that's the story.
So Armenia gonna go now.
Erdogan and Turkey entered the region, but they entered the region because Russia agreed Turkey to enter the region.
So Russia.
Don't you remember about the Russian-Turkish joint monitoring office in Aghdam, in Artsakh?
Yes.
So you are talking about Turkey forgetting about Russia? Russia is helping Turkey and Azeris to take over Artsakh and Armenia. This is Russia is doing that. Okay? To prevent United States and France to enter the region.
Because I remember when 25 Armenian generals sent letter to Pashinyan, asked him to resign, but they didn't do physically. They just sent a letter. It was only one country in the world condemned that because Pashinyan he said this is coup d'etat, and Erdogan was the only one went on TV condemned the military for saying that Pashinyan realized. So that we know from those many things like this that Turkey is behind Pashinyan.
Again, Turkey. there are three persons that Pashinyan is obeying to: Putin, Erdogan, and Aliyev. Okay? Don't forget about Putin.
I'm not.
Don't forget-
No, I'm not. Because
No, because you always you tell about Erdogan, Turkey, but all that's happening with Armenian Turkish this love story is sponsored and covered by Putin in Kremlin.
so Putin
This
gonna get out and bring Erdogan in. They're gonna come open
Yes,
their
that's it,
embassies and.
Yes, that's it. That's it. He is much more comfortable if Turkey will take over Armenia rather than the United States. Just like in 1920.
So it's repeating itself.
Yes, the story is repeating. That's the same story. Because like in 1920, they prevented the big Armenia to happen according to the League of Nations decision and the Woodrow Wilson arbitrary award, by means of their joint military aggression and Moscow Treaty. Right now they are doing the same to preventing Armenia shifting to the west, bringing Turkey and Azeri, and hanging up Armenian military, leading Armenia to the loss, bringing idiot henchman Pashinyan to power.
No.
Pashinyan.
Let me ask you.
Pashinyan-
Let me
Yes.
ask you this question: how many people in Armenia believe that what you're saying?
It's hard to me to say exactly the percent of people, but what we see now, more and more people start to realize that this is the story. More and more. We see that from the our interview views, likes and comments and subscribers of our YouTube and Facebook channel. Because, you know, people see the reality. People see that what we are saying is happening on the ground. People see that Azerbaijan was fighting with Armenia using Russian weapon. People saw that Armenian military hands were hanged up by Russia. And that's what I was seeing in Sisian Military Hospital by myself. That's the story that I heard from every wounded Armenian soldier when I served in Sisian Military Hospital.
What was they saying?
Huh?
What was they saying?
They're saying that Russia supplying broken military, like 3 of 4 supplied military was not working, that Russia is delaying supply of the rockets and other types of military, that Russia is preventing Armenian anti-aircraft system to work properly, that Russia is preventing Armenia to agree to accept France and US military offer. Russia, not Turkey. Because Russia has the leverage to do so, being the so-called ally of Armenia and having the control of Armenia. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the very important to realize. And I just apply to my compatriots in California and the United States. Please realize that story. Please learn the lesson from our story.
Well, I remember after
Armenia would be a big, successful, rich, and developed country if not occupied by Russian and Turkey back in 1920.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember after the war, the first thing
Yes.
that Lavrov came, he said, we have to open the corridors, we have to do this, the communication. So that was obviously they had hands in it. There is no question. Russia
Yes.
has interest in that war to fail. But of course, you know,
Yes.
you have traitor like Pashinyan was ruling, and he had no clue what he was doing, you know. So,
Yeah, and this corridor is serving Russian, Turkish, and Chinese interests. Russia needs so-called Zangezur corridor or Sunni corridor to have land connection with Turkey to escape sanctions. I mean, to have a green scheme of circumvention of sanctions, of the Western sanctions, okay? So this is one of the main reasons of 44 days war. 44 days war was sanctioned by Russia, was sponsored by Russia.
so
They gave lethal weapon to Azerbaijan during many years for billions of dollars, preparing Azerbaijan for this war.
yeah.
Don't forget the story. Don't forget the history. Don't forget the lesson of the history. This is the crucial time for our state and our people,
Yeah,
to
very.
be or not to be. And we have no right to mistake now, okay?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about domestic things. What do you think this new Pashinyan revolution, removing this guy Vartanian from power? Can you elaborate a little bit what is going on?
Yeah, Vartanian is a Russian billionaire. He's the Putin's wallet. He's a well-known corrupted man, included in the sanction list of one of the U.S. congressmen back in 2022, January 22, when Washington Post was printed the list of the sanctioned people, and Ruben Vartanian was one of them of this list. So Putin sent him to Artsakh to keep the people of Artsakh away from reunion idea. Don't forget that Artsakh movement started back in 1988 under the reunion call. Artsakh people dreamed of reunion with Mother Armenia. And this narrative of so-called independent Artsakh is a false narrative of the Kremlin, okay? They force Armenia to follow Artsakh solution, Artsakh problem solution as a problem of so-called self-determination and independence.
So
Artsakh problem is a problem of the restoration of the territorial integrity of Armenia. And that's it. Full stop.
now why?
Artsakh and Nakhichevan are occupied lands. Azerbaijan is an aggressor, not we. We are not aggressors. We have liberated Artsakh back in 1991, 92, 93. Okay?
Yeah, the hope of
So the
Nakhichevan.
right solution of Artsakh problem is the reunion with the mother Armenia and the restoration of the territorial integrity of the Republic of Armenia according to the Nations League decision. And the decision of the League of Nations is the only legitimate decision regarding the Artsakh status. If you talk about self-determination of Artsakh, it means that you recognize Artsakh being a part of Azerbaijan, and now saying that Artsakh has to get the independence. Independence from which country? From Azerbaijan But Artsakh had never been the part of Azerbaijan according to the international law. Artsakh became part of Azerbaijan as a result of illegal Moscow Treaty, as a result of Russian-Turkish aggression. That's the reality. We need to understand that clearly. And Ruben Vartanyan was sent by Kremlin to keep the people of Artsakh away from reunion idea.
All right, so
all he's doing now, he's talking about Artsakh being independent. He said that Artsakh will never agree to become part of Armenia. Can you imagine this kind of bullshit? This is the narrative of so-called Armenian Ruben Vartanyan. Artsakh will never agree to become a part of Armenia.
I didn't hear that.
He is traitor. Yes. So he is a traitor. He is the same agent of the Kremlin like Pashinyan, although being Armenian.
So what's going to happen to Artsakh now?
What's going to happen when Armenia will be liberated from Russian occupation? The national government of Armenia will apply to the International Justice Court of the United Nations, telling that we are not against peace with Azerbaijan. We are not against the delimitation of the borders. All we say is the delimitation of the borders has to be done according with the legitimate international documents, not according to the Soviet maps, as Putin says. Not according to the Moscow Treaty decision and the maps, Stalin's maps, Joseph Stalin's maps. And then let UN to decide who is right, Armenians or Azeris. Okay?
But as far as
that's the decision of Artsakh problem. There are no other decisions.
Do you think Artsakh will be there until you guys get in the government? Artsakh, matter of time is.
Artsakh is there and Artsakh will be there. Artsakh people are very committed and decisive to stay, to survive. And Artsakh will be there because we see now the international support. We see now the Hague Court decision to open the so-called Lachin corridor, which is Berdzor corridor. We see the statement of the United States, like State Department statements, or France Congress decision, France Parliament. We see the Macron speeches that Artsakh solution is there. It's not over like Aliyev says. So Western powers are ready to help us to save Artsakh. All we need is to bring national government to power to lead the solution of Artsakh problem right way. Because the self-determination and the independence of Artsakh is the wrong way, is the blind alley.
Well, my understanding, the reason they did independent, because if they merge Artsakh with Armenia, they would say Armenia is occupying the territory of ours. But that's why I think the way they explained to me, that's the reason they wanted to be independent. I mean, there's a group of people, they just don't want to be part of Azerbaijan. So that was, I was told.
This is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is a false narrative told by agents of the Kremlin in Artsakh and in Armenia, starting from the 1992. I would like to remind you that there is a decision of Armenian and Artsakh parliaments, joint decision, of December 1, 1989. Okay? And according to this decision, Artsakh united with Armenia. December 1, 1989. And this decision was included in the Independence Declaration of the Republic of Armenia. And again, there is a decision of the Special Committee of the League of Nations. So initially, Artsakh problem considered as a reunion problem, and started from the autumn of '91, Kremlin did the best to mislead Armenians towards the self-determination and independence of Artsakh.
So you're
To divide Armenians, divide Armenia and Artsakh.
yeah, but you know,
Okay.
like I just published some video about this idiot named Gaik, I guess Melkonian. He's
Yes.
so anti-Artsakh. He says Artsakh is coming, occupying Armenia for a long time, and so we better get rid of Artsakh and all that stuff. And I heard that lots of that story in Armenia, they hate Artsakh.
This idiot is one of the other many agents and henchmen of the Kremlin. They are doing their best to bury the problem, to forget about Artsakh, to leave Artsakh in Azerbaijan, to sign the peaceful agreement with Azerbaijan, forgetting about the Artsakh problem. Okay, that's why we are saying that all we need is the occupation of Armenia and the lustration. We need to clear up the political field of Armenia and bring all those agents, Kremlin agents and puppets, to the justice.
That would be great.
We need to hold them accountable for their crimes against Armenian national interests. All they are doing is state betrayal, betrayal of Armenian people interests. They are serving Kremlin and its interests. They are serving Turkey and Azerbaijan.
So how? Okay, so
That's my message, not only to Armenians, but also to the Western countries and Western powers and governments. If someone is listening to me now, please don't have any mistake about Pashinyan. He's not Western oriented. He is henchman of the Kremlin and Turkey and Azerbaijan, and his only red line is his prime minister chair.
yeah,
If you want Armenia to be free, independent, and committed to you, real ally country, you need to bring the justice to the region. There is no peace without justice. All Pashinyan is doing is to bring the peace without justice.
yeah. He has,
So-called peaceful agreement, which Pashinyan is going to sign, is the concession agreement. There is no peace without justice. And justice is what I said, Nations League decision. Justice is the legitimate documents, international law and international rules. The current borders between Armenia and Azerbaijan, they are not state borders. They have never been recognized by the international community. Those are internal administrative borders between Armenia and Azerbaijan Soviet republics, and those borders are the heritage of the Soviet period, the heritage of the Russian-Turkish aggression and Armenian occupation. By the way, United States recognized Armenia as an occupied state.
when?
Do you know that there is a captive nations law of the United States of America back in 1959, and there is a list of the captive nations, and Armenia is in the list. So United States of America recognized Armenia being an occupied state, occupied by Russia, back in 1959. United States of America kept Armenian embassy opened since 1933, which means that about more than a decade after the Armenian occupation, more than a decade, they kept Armenian embassy open. Okay?
Well, you are full of information. I do
Yes,
appreciate
I'm a
that.
doctor, but I'm full of information because this is the only way. If you want to be succeeded, you need to know the history. You need to know the right story. And thanks to Mr. Ara Papian, he told us all these things. He told us all this history, and we are now trying to tell this story to the Armenian people and our Western allies.
He's a very smart guy. I have lots of respect
He's a
for
very smart guy. Sorry for being angry.
No.
But I'm just angry because this is the very crucial, important period for my country and my people. We have no right to have a mistake this time.
The whole idea, we started with this. How you gonna sell your product? I mean, that is the point.
That's a good question. That's a good question. We sell our product to our Western allies saying that you need Armenia project in the region. Armenia either will be a big, strong, viable state, or there will be no Armenia. And to be viable, Armenia needs to be a big and successful state. And Armenia has every chance to be viable and big states because Armenia has legitimate juridical documents. Okay? And being a viable and successful state, United States and its allies will have committed, strong, honest, and successful ally in South Caucasus, like Israel in the Middle East, or new major power, Ukraine in the Europe. Because, as you may know, Armenia and the Western countries have a strategic interest in the South Caucasus in terms of the North-South project. The project which will connect India and Iran, Persian Gulf region with the Europe through Armenia and through Georgia to the Black Sea and to the Europe. But to be able to proceed with this project, you need Armenia to be sovereign, national, democratic, and viable state. This Armenia is not a viable state. And the borders of current Armenia were drawn by Russians and Turkish so that Armenia would not be a viable state. This was done intentionally.
So I have to end with these things. Now, Ara Papian writes and he talks, and many other Armenian historians, and we in the West for years are fighting for recognition of Armenian genocide, which we made quite progress. But Pashinyan came through all our effort in the tank. He said publicly, he said, we have no territory claim on Turkey. You know that, he said that. And he said the genocide locomotive is diaspora. So basically he washed his hand from everywhere, both the Western Armenia and Artsakh. So no matter how I think, how I understand you and others what they're saying, but honestly, without removing Pashinyan, this is slippery slope. Armenia is going down the drain, and you guys dragging us with you too in the diaspora.
And that's what I'm saying. Pashinyan being a Kremlin Turkish and Azerbaijani agent washes his hands and make every succession to Turkey and Azerbaijan telling that we have no claim.
Yeah.
All we say is that yes, Armenia has no territorial claims to
But he is-
Azerbaijan and Turkey.
But
No, no,
he is
no.
the government. Remember, he is the government. Whatever the government says, that is official document.
You're right. That's why we need to get rid of this idiot.
Well,
All we say, please listen to me, because this is important. All we say is that Armenia has no territorial claim to Azerbaijan and Turkey. Armenian people and Armenia wants to restore its territorial integrity. We want our lands back. We don't want Turkish lands. We don't want Azeris lands. Artsakh, Nakhichevan, Kars, Van, Erzurum, Bitlis, and Trabzon are Armenian lands.
good you said Bedlis, because that's where my family is from.
No. Listen to me. And these lands are not only historical lands, because Kilikia is another historical land, but these lands I'm talking about are the lands that Armenian people have the mandate and the title for those lands recognized by international community, which is Woodrow Wilson Arbitrary Award, which has no date of expire. And apart from the signature of the President Wilson, there is a great seal of the United States of America. Okay? So Woodrow Wilson is imperative and obligatory decision for everyone. And the Nations League decision regarding Artsakh and Nakhichevan is the same. So all we say is Armenia occupied country.
I have
by
only
Russia,
3 minutes.
Turkey,
3
and
minutes left.
Azerbaijan. Yes, and Armenia, Artsakh, Nakhichevan, and other lands needs decolonization. Will become possible only when we will get rid of Pashinyan and bring national government to power. That's the story. Thank you very much.
All right. No, you have. I was going to give you the last word. What do you want to say in short, like one minute?
Armenia is an occupied country, and Armenia needs decolonization. National Democratic Alliance is striving for decolonization of Armenia, of Artsakh, of Nakhichevan, and all lands that decided to be Armenian by the Nations League and by the President Woodrow Wilson Arbitrary Award. We strive for Armenia to be an ally of the United States, securing major non-NATO ally of the United States status.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You did great job. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome anytime you want to come. Because
Anytime, we'll be more than happy to be your guest. I'm at your service anytime.
thank you very much for taking your time, and say hello to our friend Papian. I like the guy.
Thank you
It's
very
not because he's a very smart guy. I mean, I'm not saying it because for any reason. I mean, he could be any party or anything, but he has lots of knowledge. He built lots of knowledge for years. And,
Yes.
and these are the type of people you want to be in the government. And there are lots of other Papian in Armenia. This is what
Ara Papian will be the foreign minister of the national government of Armenia. Foreign minister.
You can't have anyone better than that. So there are, I met lots of people. Interviewed lots of people. This is where nothing more bothers me. How could those Armenian people cannot see those people? Cannot see like someone like you, intelligent or Papian. They're stuck with these idiots, None of them in the government.
I'm angry. That's why I am angry.
Yeah, we all are angry.
That's
All right.
Thank you.
On that note, thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
you. And for our viewers, thank you for watching. We'll
Thank you
bring
very
more this type of this type of things. We really care what's going on in Armenia and Artsakh, and Artsakh is the brink of losing it because Pashinyan is just pushing Armenia. It's like on the edge, and we don't know which way gonna go. And but Armenian has to wake up. There is idiots are running the country.
They has to wake up, and they will wake up once the Kremlin regime will collapse. This X moment will come very soon. You will see.
Don't go away. Stay here for a second. Again, thank you for our viewer for watching. We'll bring you more of this, and we're doing some series on Armenian heroes. We did on Andranik Zoravor. We're doing on Nejde. We want this videos to be in Armenian schools, at least in diaspora, so they could hear it and see it and what's going on, how they were being betrayed also. Andranik Pasha was betrayed, and Nejde, another. And so we're doing series of that, and we're publishing it. All right, so thank you and have a nice day.